Hello, viewers. In this video, I will try to give you an insight about comparative literature and translation studies. What is comparative literature and what is translation studies? That thing we will try to know. Okay, but here I would like to mention one thing that this video is not the absolute video on comparative literature or translation studies. That's why please do your own research, have your own understanding, take help from your teachers, professors, and scholars. Okay, so without any delay, let's begin our discussion. Basically, comparative literature it focuses on the study of literature from different cultures, nations, and genres, and it explores relationships between literature and other forms of cultural expression. Moreover, comparative literature it poses such question as what is the place of literature in our society? How does literature as a form change over time? And what is the use of literature in our day-to-day life? And how literary forms literary forms establish relation with art or with human beings' emotion. Okay, and how does literature as a form, this I have already told you, and how does literature shape and respond to values, social movements, or political contexts? Okay, so fundamentally this is the a brief definition of comparative literature. I hope you have understood. If you talk broadly, then comparative literature is an academic field which deals with the study of literature and cultural expression across linguistic, national, geographic, and disciplinary boundaries. Comparative literature, it also performs a role similar to that of the study of international relations, but works with languages and artistic traditions. And so as to understand cultures from the inside. That's why comparative literature is needed. While most frequently practiced with works of different languages, comparative literature may also be performed on works of the same language if the works originate from different nations or cultures in which that language is spoken. The characteristically intercultural and transnational field of comparative literature, it also concerns itself with the relation between literature, broadly defined, and other spheres of human activity, including history, politics, philosophy, art, and science. Unlike other forms of literary study, comparative literature it places its emphasis on the interdisciplinary analysis of social and cultural production within the economy, political dynamics, cultural movements, historical shifts, religious differences, the urban environment, international relations, public policy, and the sciences. Okay. So now let's try to know some of the comparative literary works done in literature, especially in English. 100 Years of Homosexuality and other essays on Greek love. It is written by David Halperin, published in 1990. It is one of the examples of comparative literary work or comparative literature's work. Then, Decoding Gender in Science Fiction, written by Brian Atterbury, 2002. It was published in that year. So it is also one of the examples of it. Then, Magellan Fallacy, Globalization, and the Emergence of Asian and African Literature in Spanish. So it is written by Adam Leipzig in 2012. This is also the example of it. Now let's try to know what is translation studies. Intrinsically, translation studies it is an academic interdiscipline dealing with the systematic study of the theory, description and application of translation, interpreting and localization. So that is translation studies in brief. In addition to that, as an interdiscipline, translation studies it borrows much from the various fields of study that support translation, and this includes include comparative literature, computer science, history, linguistic, philosophy, semiotics, and terminology. Okay, that is translation studies. Now, the term translation studies it was coined by the Amsterdam-based American scholar James S. Holmes in his 1972 paper, The Name and Nature of Translation Studies, which is considered a foundational statement of the discipline. Okay, and James S. Holmes' 1972 landmark paper entitled "The Name and Nature of Translation Studies," it was the foundational statement of translation studies, and it is called for the creation of a distinct discipline with its own system of classification. And Jacobson's on linguistic aspects of translation, which was first published in 1959 maybe, and later in 2000, it describes three kinds of translations. Translation first is intralingual. Intralingual means within one language, that is rewording or paraphrase. Second is interlingual. it is done between two languages. And number three is intersemiotic. It is done between science systems. Okay, so that is a brief discussion on translation studies. I hope you will do your own research. Do not rely on this video. Thank you so much.